Welcome to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good Thursday morning to each and every one of you. What a great day. What a great day. I am in sort of a hurry. Yes, welcome Morning Devotion family. I am on the road and sort of in a hurry. Just a quick trip last night up to our nation's capital and this morning gathering at Capitol Hill in the Capitol for our National Day of Prayer. And just honored to be invited. Sort of a last minute thing, but you know what? I believe we just need to lift up the name of the Lord. Yes, even over those capitals, I mean, just those columns, sort of Supreme Court lookish there. And it goes good. It goes good this Thursday morning with the subject, Hasty Judgements. So, if you don't mind, Morning Devotion family, I got to fly today. And it's hard for me to fly. It's just hard for me to fly, especially with the subject that I'm going to deal with, hasty judgments. We make them all the time, probably 1,000 times a day. That is so scientific what I just threw out there. You just go ahead and put a footnote on that one. Yes. But in our text, in the third Psalm that I want to look at today, there's a hasty judgment that this man after God's own heart made. I mean, if David could do it, yeah, we end up doing the same. You know where we're at. David's still reaping from his sin. Years before with Bathsheba, the sword of the Lord had yet to depart from his house. Bathsheba's child died. Amnon, the thing with his half-sister Tamar. Ahithophel, David's most trusted advisor, has rebelled against him, joining confederation with David's fair son Absalom. And these two men conspired to strip the kingdom from David. The coup was forceful. And Samuel tells us that the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. Oh, that's 2 Samuel 15. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And there were some 20,000 armed men that decided we are going to use the force and might of the arm of the flesh and put Absalom on the throne of his father David. Well, rather than fight against his own son, David fled. And as he did so often during the years of Saul, David went into the wilderness. This was the Lord's battle, not his. A battle that he could never fight and win on his own. And we read in that third Psalm, David, while he was hiding from fickle Jerusalem, the fickle Jerusalem, that mob hiding from his own son, here's what he says, Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me, and many there be which say of my soul, there's no help for him in God. And then just to make that judgment even more pronounced, you got the Selah on the end of it. Wow. David was no pie-in-the-sky dreamer. He saw the score. He recognized adversity was great. And I guess what hurt the most, it was his fellow countrymen. It was his kindred, his kinsmen, his friends, family. And but here he made a hasty judgment. Could I propose to you this morning, and I know that I'm in a hurry and I'm not recognizing anybody, forgive me, but could I propose to you sometimes that our adversity may come from those closest to us, those who mean little to us, hurt us little, but it's those people we love and the people we cherish, and the people we form relationships with. When that gets jeopardized, the hurt is great. It's in that second verse, the court of human opinion recesses to consider David. And after careful consideration, they come up with a judgment. There's just no hope for that boy. He's gone. He is a goner. You mark my words. That David, that little shepherd boy, that giant killer, he's done for. But oh, folks, this Thursday, I would have to say, that was a hasty judgment. A hasty judgment. Thank you for being a part of Morning Devotion. Sign on. Tune in. Don't lurk. Jump on. Say hello to everybody. And let's just see the Lord do something amazing. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, Facebook, follow. Share with the whole world. Share with your enemies. Share with those who pronounced hasty judgment. No, don't do that. Don't do that, because they're going to say, well, you think I said that about you. Yeah. Yes. Here's what the majority said of David. Many there be, David said. Said there's no help for him in God. But that was a hasty judgment. Now I want you to notice, it was a rational judgment. Many there be which say of my soul, there's no help for him in God. Impartial observers who had the fact, those standing up in the bleachers, those looking on from the sidelines, would look carefully and logically and rationally at David and his predicament and his condition, and they would say, yeah, it don't look well for him. Not at all. King David is deserted by God. But before you say God can never turn this around, you just need to hold on and watch God move. So it was a rational judgment. It was a popular judgment. David said in a psalm that tens of thousands of people had set themselves against him. Nearly all of Israel had deserted the king, and his adversaries were legion, and they had set themselves round about him. They had encircled him, and all hope seemed gone. But David said, many there be which say of my soul, many there be. It was a popular opinion. It was the majority of people. I mean, the thinkers, the lawyers, the doctors, the tradesmen, the merchants, the craftsmen, the masons, the smiths, the farmers, the gardeners, the ladies of the well, the media, the who's who and the what's. David's enemies thought it. Phooey. That's not in the King James Version. David's friends probably thought it. They thought, wow, David, you're not only deserted by man, God has turned his back on you. David, it's useless. It's useless. David, forget it. God's not going to hear you pray. David, it's over. God's turned his back on you, David. Yes. It was a logical judgment. It was a popular judgment, and it was plausible. Many naturally thought, David, you know what? Your sin finally caught up with you, David. You are now the royal sinner deserted by the King of Kings. You are king sinner for the day, and the King of Kings has forsaken you. I mean, their judgment made sense. It was plausible. Surely they would say the wheels of God have finally, they grind slow, but they've finally gotten you, David. It took some time. God's long-suffering. But David, God's got your number. We knew it was coming. We knew it was bound to happen. It was popular. It was plausible. It was even a confident judgment. The court of rational human opinion was confident in its judgment. They've had all the evidence before them, and they're certain of their verdict. David is, let's go ahead and pronounce it, let's print it, let's put a seal on it. David is deserted and forsaken by God. They were confident in their judgment. They were sure his cause was utterly hopeless. Boy, am I ministering to someone today? Am I talking to you about what people are saying about you and what they think of you? Yes. The majority said there's no help for him in God. It may have been logical, may have been popular. It may have been confident, may have been plausible, but it was a hasty judgment. and therefore it was wrong. Have you ever heard the statement that lies travel halfway around the world before truth puts its boots on? Yeah, there's just something about it. The negative always precedes the positive. The criticism always precedes the affirmation. Regardless of the rational nature of that judgment, in spite of it making sense, in spite of it being popular in the majority opinion, in spite of their confidence, they were wrong. Hear me, morning devotion family, they were wrong. Hey, can I just go ahead and say it? They are always wrong. They. Who are they anyway? What does their report matter? We shall believe the report of the Lord. They were a majority without the Messiah, and so their judgment was erroneous. They only saw what they saw. They didn't see the end from the beginning. And they had overlooked one crucial witness who had vital evidence to present. And that witness was God. And his evidence to David is found in the 27th Psalm. In the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord's going to lift me up. The Lord will take me up. Oh, I feel the presence of the Lord. What about the 30th Psalm? Here's David saying, Lord, be thou my helper. Thou hast turned my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. And blessed is the man that trusts in him. Yes. This is what David always could do. He could exercise his right of appeal beyond the court of human opinion and stand in the presence of the Lord and say, Lord, though the entire world be against me, you've never failed me. You've always been there. You're a faithful friend. Oh, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? You've rendered a hasty judgment when you leave God out of the equation. Amass all the voices you care to. But when God is left out, you're always going to be wrong, because there is a judgment of faith. The crowd rendered their judgment based on logic and what came to their 5 natural senses, but David rendered his verdict based on faith. Thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory. You're the lifter up of mine head. And get this, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. Selah. I mean, the majority opinion was wrong. They put a Selah on the end of it, and David said, God heard me out of his holy hill. I'm going to put a Selah on that. Hey, can I just say a few things? I am, if you're just joining us, I am in D.C. this morning, just a quick trip for the National Prayer Breakfast, headed over there right now. But let me just say a few things. The voice of the majority is not the voice of God. David placed his thoughts on what God's verdict was on his life, not man's. He told the world, God's my shield. He will protect me. God's my glory. He will lift up my head. You try to pull down my hands, he lifts up my head. He gives me hope for tomorrow. That's the way it is. The majority, they are always wrong. They're like the 400 prophets of Baal versus Micaiah before Jehoshaphat and Ahab that day. They're like the 450 prophets of Baal, the 400 prophets of the grove versus the solitary Elijah at Carmel. Yes, yes. They're like the Midianites that came up against Gideon's 300. Don't trust in the judgment of the moment. Don't trust in the judgment of the majority. No. The longest sword, the strongest lungs, the most voices are false measures. What matters is what does God have to say. Well, I feel the presence of the Lord. I feel the presence of the Lord. There was a reformer by the name of Gerhardt. He was exiled from preaching. He watched his wife and children suffer physical, emotional abuse, and he wrote this song. Give to the wind thy fears, hope, and be not dismayed. God hears thy sighs and counts thy tears, and God shall lift up thy head. He's my shield, David said. He's my glory. He's the lifter up of my head. Don't believe the majority, and don't fear being in a minority with God. You know that. We love to quote it. He that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. And if God be for you, who can be against you? I feel the presence of the Lord. Noah, you're in the minority. You're in the minority report, but you and your family are going to be saved. Lot, you're in the minority in Sodom and Gomorrah, but you and your daughters are going to be saved. The way to conquer the majorities, David reveals it. All of the hasty judgments made about you is to have a relationship with God. Find refuge. Talk to the Lord. Get alone with God and watch God move. Whew. David, let me just say this in closing and wrap this up. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm in D.C., headed over to the Capitol for the National Prayer Breakfast this morning. And say a prayer for that. David viewed the future confidently. He saw an ultimate triumph. He knew that God cared. They may say there's no help for you in God. There's no help for you in God. But David knew that in life's darkest moments, the Lord had always been there. In his most troubling trials, God had showed up, and God had blessed him, and God was right by his side. I'm ministering today. I'm just ministering to somebody. I don't know. Maybe you got a text message that disturbed you. Maybe you saw a post on social media that's eating at you. It's eroding like acid your peace of mind. Maybe you know that there is a situation brewing where you're going to come up on the short end of the stick no matter what, because that's where you always come up. And the majority who speaks the loudest and the quickest, they're always wrong, but still, maybe you're hurting. Maybe you're puzzled. Why does it have to be this way? Why does God allow this? Here's what I need you to do. I need you to turn your eyes away from the maddening crowd and lift your eyes to the author and the finisher of your faith and watch God move in your life and see him do remarkable things. He is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you ask or think. When the majority speaks, it's usually a lie. Wait for the voice of God. Wait on him. Wait on him. Wait on him as a canine watches his master eating at the table, hoping for a scrap, hoping for just a crumb that falls. Wait on him. Wait on him. As a child is looking at the calendar, wanting his birthday to get there quicker. Wait on him. Wait on him in prayer. Wait on him in faith. He's going to show up, and he will prove them wrong, and he will vindicate the righteous. God bless you. Thank you for being a part of this. YouTube, subscribe, Facebook, follow, share with all. I look forward to being back home later today, God willing, and look forward to seeing each of you. And I can slow down a little bit tomorrow and chat a little bit more. God bless you. Thank you for being a part of today's devotion. Share this with others. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning, God willing.
Thank you for listening to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Join us next time for another inspiring devotion. To support this ministry, please visit firstchurch.com/give.